No knowledge is a waste, so I want to welcome you all once again to this section. And I want to believe that at the end of today, we'll be able to learn one or two things that might. All right, so please, can you still see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so today I'll be talking on sustainable design thinking process in structural engineering. So I'm going to be as fast as possible because we don't have the luxury of time anymore. So this is what we'll be trying to offload from our bucket list today. And at the end of the section, I'll be taking questions if there is any to probably clarify or have contributions. Okay. So beginning with what we do in structural engineering. What do we do in structural engineering? We begin to ask ourselves, okay, structural engineering is a course, is a profession, but then really, what is it all about? Actually, simply put, talk about structural engineering, you begin to imagine a situation where uh, nature gives you everything you need, right? But it is one thing to have a material, it's another thing to um, maximize the potential of that material. And that's one thing structural engineering does. Okay, we bring what nature gives to us, we give it shape, we give it we make use of what nature has given to us to make life better, to make um the world a place to live. So imagine we have water and then all we can do with water is just to swim and maybe fish, you know. How about living inside water? How about having uh, to move from one point to another through water? How about that? How would that come to being? And that's one thing structural engineering is all about, right? Maximizing the material we have, making use of what we have to make the world a better place. So we have land. So maybe the only thing that would have been done with land without structural engineering probably would have been farming. But then with structural engineering, we realized that we could do a lot. We could have structures, we could have buildings, we could have beautiful things, okay, erected on the land, even below the land. So that's what structural engineering is about, okay? We bring it to being, we design structures, we analyze structures, we construct structures to to portray a point and a system of stability, not just designing. Because it's one thing to design, it's one thing to analyze, one thing to construct, it's another thing for that to serve you throughout the point of its livelihood. So structural engineering makes use applies a lot of knowledge, a lot of sciences to design structures that can, you know, that can withstand forces. So structural engineering you can divide into three parts. Okay, you can look it from three angles, and beginning with is design. Design on its own is a very broad word. Okay, and in structural engineering, design is in stages. Well, let me say, yeah, design is in stages. Okay, so we have the design before pre-analysis. Okay, and we have design after analysis. So there are points where you have to make up certain decisions before you start running your analysis. When you need to make up certain layouts for a particular system of structure that you uh, want to work on, okay, as a project. So you may want to um, use your engineering skills to make certain decisions before you run your analysis, and that's the pre-design I was talking about. So when you be able to carry out that particular process, then you go to the point of analysis when you begin to uh, calculate this and that, calculate forces, the action of and reaction of forces, internal forces, self weight, all of those things. Try to know the capacity of what you've predicted, the capacity of what you've designed initially, to see if this can actually carry and solve the problem you are trying to solve. So by the time you have your analysis result, it will then inform you of it will not confirm if the decision you make concerning your design is actually the correct one, or it would fail. Okay. So when you carry out your analysis and you realize that this is going to fail, then you have to carry out what we call post design or interactive design. Okay, this is where you now begin to make sure that every structural members, every structural component is designed based on your analysis. Okay, in practice, you might hear calculation based on your calculation, based on your calculation. Okay, and then when your design analysis is balanced, let me put it that way. When your design analysis is balanced, then of course another stage in design is when you come about your drafts. So you make up your draft, you design your draft, and then you proceed to construction. So at the end of the day, when everything is set, then you can you will be happy as a structural engineer, and then I would say you have carried out an holistic process of structural engineering. Moving forward is classifying structures. Oftentimes we do make the mistake of saying that um, structures is all about building. Please, just to confirm, can you still hear me, please, and see my screen?
Yes, sir.
All right. Okay.
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Oh, great.
I can see your
So
screen.
oftentimes we make the mistake of saying structures is all about buildings. Um, Actually, that's wrong. Structures, in its true sense, is quite broad and more than just building. Building is just one of the classes of structures. So if you are studying civil engineering here, uh, at any level, at any level, um, I would like you to know that you are studying a very broad course. And talking about structural engineering a um, is just a measure of what civil engineering entails. And when you talk about structural engineering itself, it still has a lot of substructures and subclasses, okay, subsections. So you can decide to study civil engineering, and then when you progress, when you get to higher level, you want to specialize. Okay, let's say structural engineering, and even under structural engineering, you might decide to want to even specialize. Or okay, fine. For me, I just want to focus on this type of structures. Okay, for me, I want to focus on this type of structure. It's all based on your interest and your larger goal. Okay, so structures is for me, I would like to classify, and the way I see, any project that comes to my table, the way I see it is in these classes that I'm displaying on my screen. I see them as either structure under earth structures, which can also call underground structures, okay, or water structures, or air structures. So when I talk about head structures, I have my list there. The list is not limited to this. It can be more than, okay. There are a lot of structures. So you may want to start to expand on your research, on your knowledge acquisition, on your capacity building to know more about these things. Because it will be so sad that we call ourselves professionals at the end of the day, and then we realize that the only thing you actually get to know as a structural engineer or as a civil engineer that you can boast of is buildings, right? That's not bad. That can be your area of specialization, but it might be good that you have idea of all these things. Because how about when when you have a client who wants you to carry out a project on what is not on building? So what would you do? What would you do? Would you say, "Oh, I don't even know what they're talking about"? So it's important that we understand that structures can be classified under health. We have tunnels, foundations. Foundations are types of structures. Okay, I've had discussion with certain individuals before, and um, they didn't know that foundation is also a type of structure. They thought it's just something to support building. Foundations on their own are structures. Okay, they are earth structures, basements, mines, utilities where you can pass your sewage, your sewers, your electrical works, and all of that. You know, even for water passage, you can have for fortification. You know, we watch these war uh, Rome movies where we see them create tunnels where the warriors will use to move from one country to another nation just to, you know, either to safeguard themselves or to fight wars. So there are a lot of them under health. Okay, going to waters, we have bridges, we have dams, we have offshore platforms, we have docks and piers, we have breakwaters, we have underwater tunnels and submerged. Okay, a lot of the amazing structures on water, right? And they are, you can decide to want to specialize on offshore structures. You know, it's really, there's really a wide gap, wide opportunities even there. So these are structures you can look up on to see what they entails, how they look. You can get up their images. You know, you can research on them to know more about them. So going to air, under air we have buildings, and this is where we are most familiar with buildings. Okay, so building is more like a air structure. When you look at the design system, the design mechanism and analysis mechanism, you agree with me that it's a hair structure. Okay, we have towers, we have masts, we have bridges as well. Okay, because they are suspended bridges. Okay, they are held by cables. So there are a lot of them that are working against big time against gravitational forces. So these are head structures. Stadiums, arenas, air traffic control towers, communication satellites. Okay, you will see a lot of structures that are in the air that are actually, you know, solving a lot of problem even on the land. So how do we come about it? You see towers, okay, network provider towers over there. Who are those constructing it? Structural engineers. Okay, so these are aspects you can explore, okay, to because it will really help you to know what you want for yourself and the career you want to build for those of us that are still students. And for those of us that are practicing, it's also a good way to, you know, to give a definition to what you are doing as a professional. All right. So moving on is introducing sustainable design. So what does it mean to design sustainably? All right. Simply put, an holistic approach, okay, to checkmate the system of of what we do as structural engineers, considering the impact of a project throughout its lifestyle, from material extraction to construction to operation to maintenance, in fact, to the point where you may want to demolish. So these approaches or this approach, as the case may be, have to be holistic. So you want to carry out a design on a particular project. We've listed out a lot of projects here from the previous slide that you can encounter in your endeavor as a structural engineer. So any of this project, you want to check certain things to make sure that you're not just designing just to make your just to, you know, take the job out of your table, or just to make money, or just to be called an engineer that is in charge of a project. No, you want to design to ensure that you are responsible environmentally. You take environmental responsibility as a very paramount factor when designing. You are looking into social well-being of your project. Okay, you are looking at the economic viability of your project, and not just now, but for future as well. Okay, So in other words, how do I design a structure that it will be environmentally friendly, it will be safe, it will be beautiful, it will have these aesthetic values, okay, it will be dynamically stable, and then it will be economical. So that takes me to the design thinking process in structural engineering. And four pillars basically makes up this process. The first is woman pillar, the pillar of woman. Next is environment. Next is economics. Next is social. You cannot be talking about sustainable or sustainability without these four factors. So hello everyone. At this point, every point where you will encounter a point where you have to design, you must always first checkmate these four guys. You have to consider these four factors, especially when certain decisions are to be made. Remember where we're coming from at this point. This circle, this DNC cycle to structural engineering. Okay, so when you want to engage this DNC cycle, you have to settle these four guys. So you are picking up a design, you have to consider the human factor. Okay, what's the client, the stakeholders in charge, the stakeholders uh, for the project. It might be a public project, it may be a private project, okay? Maybe a public client or a private client. So what are the who are the stakeholders involved? Is it a community project? Is it a health project? Is it water project? Okay, you have to consider the woman involved in this and what is their requirement, what is their taste, what do they want. Oftentimes as well, I hear a lot of structural engineers, say that okay, when it comes to understanding the taste of the client, we leave that to the client architect. No, especially when it comes to building project, right? You don't leave it just to the architect. That is why it is called a teamwork. It's a family thing. So there must be a good, smooth, seamless communication between the client, and the team, which is maybe if it's a building project, which may be headed by an architect. Okay, so there has to be a seamless communication between the client, the architect, the structural engineers, and as well other engineers and professionals in that project. So understanding what the project is all about, what we are trying to achieve, the problem we are trying to solve, how is it going to solve our problems, what how do we go about the project in order to solve our problem, in order to develop our to ensure that we are actually doing what we need to do. Human factor. So you are designing, you are woman centric in your design. You have this woman mentality when you are designing. You're not just designing just to suit your own professionalism. No, you are considering your client, and be emphatic on this because many times we tend to want to neglect this factor and insist on changing the scope of a project without proper communication. So sometimes when you need to, maybe for instance, the client agree to a particular type of foundation due to the technical results, okay? And then at a point in time, the structural engineer discovered that okay, for these so reasons, this particular project may not be the best. In such scenario, the first thing you have to do is to communicate. You are designing sustainably. Because I tell you, if you go ahead without your own conceived uh, decision, you will encounter problem at the point of approval. So you communicate so as to make sure that you are aligned to the scope of the project. Then next is to consider the environment. You are not just designing just to please yourself or the client. You're also designing to make the environment of the client safer for him or her. You have to design not to make the environment toxic for your clients. And this is a lot. Like tonight may not be enough for me to even talk about that area alone. It's a lot because there are so many factors you need to consider to make sure that the design approach you are using, design methodology you are using, fit into it's economic, it's eco-friendly. That's the point I'm driving at. It's eco-friendly, which is going to affect the material choice. It's going to affect your design philosophy, your design methodology, your design thinking, and all those factors that you will need in your design process. Then another thing you want to consider is economic. Okay, many times when you have private projects, we usually have issues with economic factors because clients want the best, and they also want to work within their budget. So how do you factor their budget into your plans, into your thinking? So sometimes, and this is the beauty of thinking sustainably. If you are a good sustainable designer, you will know that there are multiple choices you can make to design a particular project, considering human factor, considering environmental factor, and you still work within the budget. There are so many choices, and this is where we come in as engineers, stretching ourselves, thinking outside the box. What are other ways we can go about? Must we use this particular material? Are there other materials that we can use that are eco-friendly, that are durable, that has engineering properties that can withstand, that have this capacity to withstand the forces that is going to bear? Are there other alternatives? So these are things you consider. So it's not just about, oh, I'm good at using software to design. I'm good at using doing manual designs. No, it's beyond that. Structural engineering is beyond that. These are factors. If you really want to, strive well and do well in this profession, these are the things you have to have on your work table. So going next is social. Okay, the aesthetic factor of the structure, the impact of the structure of the project in the social system. So these are other factors you have to consider. You don't want to build um you don't want to design a project rather that that does not that is not visually appealing. It's not visually appealing. It will not tell well. It might be stable structurally, but if it's not visually appealing, you may not be able to convince your client that what you are doing is right. So socially, you want to be sure that one, aesthetically you are good. Another thing you have to consider under social is culture. There are many agents of socialization, so you have to consider those aspects as well. Culture, cultural value of that project, of that structure. So, and this is an aspect personally I would like to talk about because it's one aspect I've been doing research on. I've done a paper on that, written a co-authored a paper on that about 2 months ago. Okay, why we need to make sure that we are building structures, we are erecting structures, we are constructing structure, designing structures that are eco-friendly, that are economical. We also want to consider the fact that we have an history as individuals, as a nation, as a community. We have an history, and our history comes with culture, the way we do our things, our way of life, the way we do our way. If you go to Korea, if you go to China, you would understand this better. You will see that they have a way of designing and constructing their structures. If you see their buildings, you see this particular uh, culturally oriented factor, you know, considered while designing and constructing. It influences their material choice, their design approach, and all other things. So as Nigerians, we have history as well. There's a way we erect structures. There's a way we build we do our things before modernization, before colonialism. Okay, so it's a point for us to also begin to revise back to where we are coming from, so that we are begin to as we begin to modernize our structures, we don't leave out who we are, our identity. It's so sad that, okay, if you go to the urban regions now, it's very obvious that we we employ foreign styles to our structures. So what happens to our culture? What happens to our history? What happens to our cultural heritage? This is where social comes in. So these are the point, the pillars, the approach to sustainable design thinking process as in structural engineering. So as I begin to round up, I would like to give you this extra tips that as we now come to a point of understanding, we need to understand these four points in how to apply them when we are designing our projects. So how do we apply these things? They are applied here. We have design philosophy. I want to believe we all understand what design philosophy is, right? Design code, a checklist, and then software. Now, when we now begin to think sustainably, it will influence our design philosophy. Most of the time when we design, we make use of limit state, right? That's what we've adopted in this part of the world, right? So we design based on ultimate limit state, serviceability limit state. So when we do that, can we also do that by factoring these four factors so that we don't just keep repeating what we used to do when the reality is not the way we used to be. Before, you could see the normal conventional materials we use in designs may be affordable, may be quite cheap. But now you go to market to get the materials you've designed for, and you realize that this is something else. The clients are complaining, they cannot afford it, and then the project is just dormant. So why not we begin to think sustainably? So how better can we, you know, implement our design philosophy based on sustainable approach, based on sustainable design system, and material choice, operational system, construction system, and all of those processes involved in a project. Then from there we begin to now look into our design code. It's so sad that Nigeria is yet to have we are yet to have our own design code. So we are still making use of BS code and then Aero code. Okay. And you know, this is not this guy's code we are using is not our country, right? But based on certain similarity, certain condition, that's why we adopted using their code. So is it not high time for us we now began to think of working deliberately on our code so that it will be easier for us to factor these sustainable factors into our design system so that we will not look down on our materials. Oh, and interestingly, right, in material science under civil engineering, you realize that there are so many materials you can actually use in place of concrete, for instance, and will still serve you well. But it will be very sad for us to make use of to implement that for a project because it does not obey any design code. It does not fit into any of our design code. So this is a call to us as students to wake up, and as for those of us that are professionals, there is a call to us to also wake up. If I believe there have been work on getting our design code, Nigeria design code, yes, there have been a lot of work, but it's been taking years. It's been taking years. And we need to start this, we need to be more intentional with our sustainable design and construction process in Nigeria. So moving on is checklist. You must have a checklist as an engineer, okay? You must have a checklist. What are the things you check before you take a project for approval or before you execute or implement any project? Before you run a design, we've been talking a lot about these processes. These are ways to structure out the checklist. For me, I have my checklist anytime I run a project, okay? Then to our software. So when you actually understand the theoretical aspect of these things, the science of these things, the act of these things, then it will influence how you make use of software. Because software on its own is just garbage in and garbage out, right? But when you understand this concept, it will influence how you use software. You can still use software to design, and that for instance, maybe you use software to design a building project. You can still use software. Yes, I use software so as to be easy, right? And I tell you, that project can still collapse, can still fail if you don't factor certain things that needs to be factored. So software is just is it should not be a means to a end. No, it should be part of your process whenever you are carrying out a design. And there are a lot of software. I believe I know some of us may be under pressure to want to know many software. You know, don't put yourself on pressure to know many software. If it is one, if it is two you are good at, make sure that you're able to use that one or two to design sustainably. Okay. So what next? Always think sustainability. Anytime, any point. You can always come to revise what are the human factors in sustainable design thinking, what are environmental factors, what are economic factors, what are social factors. All right, for this project. How do you design such that this particular project will not be harmful to your society, to the community? How you design such that to fit into budget? How to design to maintain our cultural heritage, our social value? So another thing you can think of as students and professionals is high time we begin to have designer club where we get to challenge ourselves, pick up real life projects, simulate projects, okay, model projects, and then get your hands dirty. Don't wait till you leave school. Don't wait till you get one employment letter. No. While you are still a student, while you are still searching for that big job, get your hands dirty. And a way to go about it is for us to look into designers club. We can create a network of designers, having a club where we challenge ourselves, put questions, pull up projects, we do projects, we run things, we get things done, and all of that. Another thing is to stay active with your association. You don't want to work in isolation. Be active with your association to get the correct update, to know what's happening in your profession now, to know the new technologies, the new design system. Before now, nobody talks about sustainable design thinking. But now, this is the if you don't know what sustainable design thinking is now in engineering as a whole, you are behind. You are far behind. And please don't graduate without understanding well this sustainable design thinking, because this is what will put you at the top of the game. So before there was nothing like that, but now it is um, more in demand. It is now the talk of the town when it comes to our profession. Another thing is research. We need to research. Research is not just meant for doctors, okay? Those with doctorate certificate, no, or doctorate degrees, no. It is high time students, professionals also pull our leg into research. We need to research. We need to know the sustainable alternative materials to use that are sustainable, that obey these four principles of sustainability. It's high time. The only material we have in this world is not just concrete. We do reinforced concrete design here and there. It's not just concrete. It's not just steel. There are a lot of them. So why are we not talking about the others? Why are we not researching on others? This is a call for us to, this is that next for us to do, thinking sustainably. Research club, and okay, when we begin to do research, it should pull us to have a club of researchers. Okay, are we still together, please? And then we might want to look into community development, civil engineers, structural engineers, students, professionals. Please let us be intentional with community development. When we as an association, as clubs, let's get involved in social work. Let's get involved in community development. There are so many regions, underrepresented regions, that are lacking basic shelter, basic housing. These are projects we can erect to please give me a minute, please. All right, sorry for that interruption. Please, can you still hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right. Okay. So, community development is one thing we should look into. Okay, policy development as well. This may be more concerned with professional among us here. There are professional among us here. It is high time we begin to be involved with policy development, especially in our country when it comes to the engineering sector of this country. It's so sad that we might have people that are not too detailed with things that are going on in the actual sense in the engineering sector that are making policy for us. If we are intentional with policy development and we are thinking sustainably, we will know that by now we should be more intentional from the policy level on our system of approach when it comes to design, when it comes to construction. But it's so sad that that is not happening yet in our country. But we are hoping that soon we begin to realize this wonderful dream of ours. Another thing might be campaign programs. You know, we shouldn't be quiet as civil engineers, structural engineers. While we are doing these things, we need to make noise on what we are doing. We need to create awareness. We need to let people know that the PET block, the PET bottles they throw around, they are useful when it comes to material science. They are important. They are useful. This it goes beyond the scope of this section, okay? So when we can create project on ensuring that we source these local materials in our environment that are causing environmental pollution and make use of this and convert this material into what may be useful for constructional purpose. This is sustainable system of um, in structural engineering. Okay. Another thing is technical section like this. It's important we have more technical section where we do research, when we discover new things, let's bring it together and discuss about it and talk about it so that we can be up to date. Then I've talked about designer network, which is more like designers club. We can have a network. Let's build a network. There are many platforms where this can be done. Student network of designers, okay, based on the scope of the design, just like we talk about kinds of structures. So these are, the little things I would love to share uh, about sustainable design thinking process in structural engineering. And I want to believe I'm able to say one or two things. And based on the time scope, I can't go beyond this for now. So if you have any question, please you can feel free and ask me. Any question, please. Question? Anyone?
Good evening, sir.
Okay, good evening.
Good evening. Thank you so much for the enlightenment. My name is Solomon.
Okay.
Solomon Olobatsuki.
Thank you so much.
If I can relate, of course. Thanks so much for the enlightenment and the showing out, giving us a broad view at structural engineering, not just this first concrete design that we do or the normal beam and column and all that we do. Sustainable development, structural and diversity and all, right? So my question is it's not a question actually. I want to appreciate you and also appreciate the my sister coordinator. And also, I want to know if I can connect with you personally because I want to relate some things with you concerning the structural engineering, sir.
Okay, that'll be fine. If you want to connect with me, no problem. That's my portfolio there. My phone number is there. My LinkedIn profile is there. Feel free if you want us to discuss something professional together. Fine, I'm available. I'm open to that, please. So, is that fine by you, Solomon? Can you hear me? Okay. Sorry, can you guys hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
I
sir.
think
Okay, I think Solomon um is not here again. All right. Any other question, please? Any other question? Okay. So on a final note, if you look at the image on my screen, you'll see the structures, a lot of structures, ranging from land structure to water structure to air structure. And you will see the factors.
after sir, we can see the image on your screen.
Sorry, you can't see my screen?
Yes.
Oh, sorry about that. Let me reshare. How about now? Right?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, great. So you will see that obviously this is a developed country. Permit me to say anyway. So this is a developed country, and you will see that the structures here, the system of construction here, the arrangement of structures here is sustainably done. Um, Let me also remind you that if we don't take this issue of sustainable design thinking serious in structural engineering, a time will come that we will not be able to bear living in this space anymore, because the weather will be too harsh on us for us to even live. Talking about environmental factor under sustainable design thinking process, we must remember that the fact that we are developing, we are erecting structures here and there, should not pull away these natural resources around us. They are responsible for an accommodating, climate condition. If you go to some region now, okay, for instance, if you come to Abuja, there are certain places if you go to that before, by research, I did my research, okay, some years back, the temperature and humidity of that region is very favorable, very conducive. But now, if you go there, it is very, very harsh. High temperature, you go there, you feel, very hot. You can't just enjoy yourself. So many persons subscribe to service and utilities to their structures, like air conditioner, utilities, and all of that. So many people are subscribed to that, and that on its own is even contributing to what we are experiencing as to climate change. So while we erect structure, the mistakes that we make in time past is that we deforest our environment all in the name of erecting structures, and we put ourselves in danger. And now we are experiencing climate change big time. If you are in Abuja, you understand with me that we are experiencing climate change big time, and we are the cause of it. We have structures everywhere, we have estates everywhere, but few ones are the one building and maintaining and retaining natural resources like trees, like this. Look at the pictures you are seeing on my screen. You see, for every building, there are trees. For every structure, even the brick structure, there are trees. So these are just instances. These are just examples. That's why I said this section may not be enough for me to go very deep into these things, but these are just the basic things, just to create an awareness and spur us to research more of these things, and you are going to enjoy it. There are a lot of research opportunities that you can jump on when you leave or when you graduate from your study, that will help you a lot to build your career in this. So thank you for listening. If there is no other question, I think that will be all from my side for now. Thank you.